All right, Kevin back with you for another episode of the $1 Million Relationships Podcast. And today I'm here with Francis Piché. Francis, welcome. So awesome to have you on the show today.
So awesome to be here.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this.
Me too. I have no idea where it's going. I know one thing for sure is we're gonna have a great conversation. I know that.
Yes, absolutely. And I want to give a shout out to Giovanni Marsico. I never call him Giovanni. I always call him Gio.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised you said it this way. If he's listening to my Giovanni, yeah.
And I first met Gio probably maybe 14 years ago. We met in Joe Polish's Genius Network group is where we met. And I can still remember we were actually in New York City for one of Joe's annual Genius Network events. And it was like a 2.5 day thing. And one of the days, Gio invited me. He said, Kevin, he said, you want to go out to dinner with me? And I'm like, sure. And so we go to this crazy restaurant and stuff. That's a whole nother story in and of itself. But as we're sitting there at dinner that night, he starts mapping this thing out for me and telling me, he's like, I want to create this thing called Archangel, and this is what my vision is for it. And I want to bring, existing entrepreneurs and established entrepreneurs like you, Kev. And I also want to bring up and coming entrepreneurs. And I want the existing entrepreneurs to, really pour into the up and coming entrepreneurs and just really help them out. And I also want the established entrepreneurs to help sponsor the up and coming entrepreneurs, because if they can't afford it financially, I just want to make that a non-issue for them and stuff. And the more he shared, I'm like, wow, this is really cool. And I'm like, Gio, I was like, man, I am totally in. Where do I send money to? And he's like, Kev, you're the first person I ever told about this. And so I'm going to get back to you with an answer on that. So,
I like it because I know I'm gonna share something today, and it feels like you're the one that we should share the vision to, you know? And even as a matter of fact, I'll tell another story. I've just read an email by someone that just declared like publicly what the big vision is, and I feel like it's important to share it to some people. So I'm glad he did because now we look at how amazing this group
oh
is.
man, look at what he's done over the last 12 years. It's mind blowing, and he
Hmm.
and he just had his last Destiny Fest event in Toronto. And that was like a 3 day thing. And so like, this I know the first day I got there was, I don't know how many were in that like first group that I was in. Probably, I don't know, maybe 150 or something like that. But then the big Destiny Fest event, I don't know how many exactly were there, but I mean, I don't know, 1,800, 2,000 people. I mean, it was a
Hmm.
big group of people,
Yeah,
and
it was
what a
fun.
cool experience, and Gio, man, he just attracts amazing entrepreneurs, amazing people, and
Very humble too, right? I think
yeah,
if I compare it to a lot of leaders out there, I don't feel an ounce of ego from Gio. He's
no,
like so
no,
giving, heart leader, servant leader, and he really wants making an impact in everyone's life, right? Like he used to
yeah,
say, the best letter I can get is "You changed my life,"
that's
and he
right.
did.
That's right.
So
Yes.
I'm glad that he shared that vision with you. That's look
Yeah.
at that, like how far, because like we would have not met, right? So this
Yeah.
is how we met.
Yeah. And it's so cool to see what he's done. And I just love hanging out in Geo's world because that the people are vetted and they're just going to be good people, And it makes it really easy, and of course that's how you and I met, was through Geo, and we're part of his synergy group. And so, he hosts these calls on Zoom every week for us. And so you and I have got to know each other, through that, as well as being in person at his stuff.
Hmm. Hmm.
And so what I want to do is I just want to start by I want to turn over to you a little bit, and I want you to be able to share a little bit about, I want to set some context and let the listeners know, who you are and what you're all about. So why don't you start just like talking about, what you do, who you serve, and what inspires you most about the
All right.
impact that you get to make, Francis.
I love that. So what I do is here's my declaration. My declaration is I create the best men's group in the world, and that's for conscious men, men of faith as well, I would say. Men that want to establish something beyond their own life, so creating a legacy and rising together, really in the ups and downs. So I call it the night club. So it's with the K. So we've graduated from the nightclub and the discotheque, but now it's really about the mission, and we don't need to be alone and have all the pressure on our shoulders. So what I do is I'm the founder of that, and I'm also a coach. So I like to say a business coach because part of this men's group, the big differentiator is that we're also not only thinking about our mission, but we're working on our mission, and with one of the program that's called Thinking into Results. So it's really goal achievement. So it's helping you to achieve a bigger goal faster. That's what it
Okay.
is. And
Okay.
so now that we speak the same language, half of it is really about let's go, or let's always remember what our goals are, which can be in business or relationship or anything. And then the rest of it is whatever the guys need. A little bit kind of what Gio is doing, right? Like he brings some guests. If there's anything that we need, he's really serving. And that's what I do. And that's what excites me. What excites me is the vision that I have for this is I know I'm a great connector, and I've had the chance to travel, I don't know, maybe in 33 countries. Actually, I was in Scotland lately, and it might seem stupid, but I thought that Scotland was its own country. So I thought, oh, it's 34, but it's still UK. So, but what's interesting is that, there's a lot of castles, there's a lot of things right there. And I felt really connected with my next step in my life right now, with the knighthood, with the brotherhood. And so the vision is that imagine that, we do share what I call the heroic code. So it's humility, excellence, respect, optimism, integrity, and courage. So all of these guys that are inside the group right now, that's who they are. And you can rely on this. So that means that the vision is imagine you're traveling around the world and you know that there's some different chapters everywhere where you can say, where are my nights? I want to go to Paris. I know I'm gonna get connected with people like me. That's gonna be awesome. I know I'm gonna have a great time. It's people that I can do life or business with. I can go to London. I can go to Barcelona. I can go to Sydney, Australia, or in South America. That's my vision, and I know we need to make a declaration for it. And so, a little bit like Geo, this is what I see. And what I meant by this email that I saw this morning is, you probably know him, Sharon Trivatsa.
Oh yeah,
Was
I
it?
know
Yeah,
Sharon.
right. So he
Yeah.
made that declaration today. He's like, I'm gonna buy the Anaheim Ducks,
Okay.
and he made that declaration. And I think it's so important to have this vision, and really after that, making that decision. So for me, I can spend the rest of my life building those chapters, creating some retreats for men, and even incorporating at times some women together, like activation of men and women.
Yeah.
I know I'm gonna have so much fun because it's traveling, it's connecting great people together, the business owners, the dreamers, the one that want to make a difference. And yeah, that's what I do.
Wow. What a small world. I actually met Sharon the same exact place I met Gio at Joe Polish's Genius
There you go.
Network. So,
No
I
coincidence,
mean,
right? Yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
And Sharon, man, he's such an awesome guy. Man, what a giver. That guy is such a giver. And and now, I mean, when I met him years ago, he was really into the real estate, space, doing lots of big stuff in the real estate, putting big deals together. And now I see, he's doing a lot of other stuff now too, not just real estate stuff.
Yeah, he has
And
partnered with Alex Hormozy, and
yeah, yeah.
he's got a great vision of bringing all people together. I think that's what's happening right now is the collectiveness of the intelligence and the power that we have is way better when we're together as opposed to try everything by ourselves. And
Oh,
life is a journey, it's not a destination. I've made that mistake of thinking that it was all about the destination, but
yeah.
the inner feeling is also another thing that's so important where I also made that mistake, thinking that I'm going to be happy once something is happening. But now the more I'm 47, I'm not that old, but life is precious. And yeah, you
Right.
even had one of my best friend that died last year and out of nowhere. And I really asked myself, am I alive while I'm alive?
Yeah.
Am I really having a bold life, which is for me being brave, original, loving, and have a dedication to a cause, a mission? And that to me is the purpose of life, is just to
Yeah.
be fully alive, being free, helping others, making a difference. We just remember those things, not the things that we bring that we will not bring once we depart this world. So yeah, that's the mission. I'm excited about it. I'm excited to bring men together, and it's fun. Like that's part of it. Like that's why I chose the name Nightclub Nightclub. Or I'm part of the nightclub. What nightclub? It's the
Yeah.
nightclub
Yeah.
with a K.
Yeah. I mean, what an awesome vision that you have. And I can tell you from personal experience, being this guy that has been this connector and conduit of trust for entrepreneurs for so many years and just making introductions that have been so valuable. I will tell you, when we connect with the right people, we can do so much more together than either of us could do on our own and stuff, because we all have assets that the other person doesn't have. And we start combining these assets. So it's not like 1 + 1 is 2. It's like 1 + 1 is 11 kind of a thing.
Exactly.
And it's massive. And I introduced these two guys a little while back. I mean, they combined their assets, and together these two guys created 1.2 million in revenue in just 4 months by doing that.
Amazing.
And
Yeah.
made such a huge impact. And neither one of them could have done that on their own, but together, man, that's powerful. And so I want to just, give credence to what you were just talking about on that, and I'll tell you, that doesn't just happen by, accident. That is very intentional stuff there. That is people who have very specific skill sets and very specific assets that when they combine them, it is producing that kind of a result, you know.
Thank you.
And
Yeah, it's
and
thank you for saying that because I mean, look, what's interesting is I went to London not too long ago actually, and I had a friend that we met at an event, like you and I, we met through an organization. So, and then there was another friend that was also living in London that we met to the same event, but these two guys are living in the same place. Like they're living in London. They didn't even know each other.
yeah,
And so a little bit like you, I'm this connector that shows up. And the funny thing is that, somebody that I just met said, let's do a meetup. We did a meetup. We had like 14 people. And then after we had, like, I wanted to give a workshop, do something. And my friend said, why don't we do it at my shop, like a biohacking shop? It's going to be fun. We're going to provide like hydrogen water, adaptogen coffee, where they're going to try the equipment. They're going to optimize their body. You're going to optimize their mind. Let's do it. I'm like, yeah, that sounds fun. And so we showed up, and then all of a sudden, like all these people came in, and I'm not even from London, and I'm kind of inviting the people together. And so the friend that met my friend, they didn't even know each other, and now they're talking about bringing some founders. My friend now wants to do more of that, like events in person, business owners together, promoting the business like that. I mean, he got like business out of it. Like it was so generous of him to just say, "Hey, you can test all the equipment." He's got a few membership now of the people that showed up. But the point is yeah, that connection that you make and rising together, having some fun. So yeah, that's where I'm at right
yeah,
now.
that's awesome. That is awesome. And I'll tell you, I can tell you from personal experience of, I've been being this connector for, oh my gosh, 22 years, and it's been my full-time gig for 8 years now. I mean, time just flies. And I can tell you, you just continue just getting dialed in on this and creating like this group that you want to for the right kind of just like-minded guys, so much is going to come from that. I can tell you, so much is going to come from that as you continue moving forward with this. There's going to be so much opportunity there, and
And I will say, I've now my intuition. It's almost like God is nudging me. But I will say a little bit of what's interesting is last week I was in Laguna Beach, and it was for a speaker training, and it was
okay.
called this woman actually that created this great event, and it was a very small mentorship of 4 people. And I've done a lot of different training on communication and all that and public speaking, but for her it was about speaking your soul. And she did a very powerful exercise of giving some prompts, what would you say to yourself from your higher self to your younger self and things like that. And then she would stop and, we would start to write down things. And then all of a sudden, like so many stories came up. And I forgot how important one of my brother was in my life at one point. So this story just emerged, and it was at a moment. And to me, that's my fuel now to this mission is that, there was a moment like 2, 3 years ago where I felt like I had the idea of ending this and just leave this world. And
Wow.
it came out of nowhere, really, but at the same time, just in a perfect storm, you're waiting for the clients and they're not responsive. And now you feel like you're not even good for your own clients or the business is not showing up. I was deeply in debt, also financial debt. I was in OC, so it's a beautiful place with a lot of luxury cars and everything. So on the outside, if you identify your identity and if you feel that your value is based on the outside, like I felt, sorry to say I felt not good. And so I was at one of those meetings with my friend and having fun outside, like I think it was a hookah bar. And I saw this beautiful girl, and at the time I was single, so I thought, wow, she looks so good. Everything on my list, like she had it, like the looks, the demeanor, the energy, everything. But I was so scared to talk because deep down I knew my financial situation. I knew how I felt, and I felt not good. I felt powerless, meaningless, name it. And not to help, my friend at the time, Simon, started to just tease me and say, "Come on, man, be a man. Like, why don't you talk to her? You can do it." And I'm like, stop it. My friend Jason, who was also there, knew my situation and he didn't say anything. So we kind of left. I was at that time. I wished that he would stop, and so I kind of said, "Stop, please. Like, can you stop, Simon?" We left it there, and then she left, and she left with her friend, and not to help, she left in a McLaren. I'm looking at this. I'm like, wow, hot and rich at the same time. Now, like my self-esteem is to the floor. I'm like, there's no way. And because she's leaving, what are the friends doing at this point, right? Come on, you just lost your opportunity. What are you doing? Are you a man? I'm like, oh, and now it hit me so bad that, during that day, I just bought a gift for a friend, and Simon gave me the money, half of it, because, we're just kind of partaking in this. And the exact money, I think it was maybe 20 bucks or whatever it was. We're just like, I decided to just take that 20 that he gave me and fully gave it back to him, like with that gesture that he felt it. He felt it in my vibe that it was, I want nothing of you right now. But by doing that, like it was kind of a rejection of my friend, my own friend, and a real rejection of me, really. And so, and I felt like, what's the point at this point? Like, why am I here? I'm not even able to do anything with this woman, not even with my friend that bothers me. Like in his own word, I'm not even a man. And then I decided to go back home, and I was with my friend, and we were in the same car. And he's like, "Are you all right?" I'm like, "No, I'm not." And when we arrived home, like I saw this, in this dark moment, at least I saw this beautiful star. And it was so bright and that I thought I have to take a picture of it. And some of us, we have this app for naming the star. I didn't have the app. I asked my friend Jason, can you just take a picture? I want to know what that is. It's like, yeah, I'll take a picture. But I was still very depressed and deep, thinking about all my life. And really, to be honest, the only reason that I didn't fully consider. It was just for the thought of my parents to bring the body back. Like
Wow. Wow.
I didn't want to give this burden to my mom, to my dad, because other than that, like it would have been, I'm out. I don't care. I'm out. And so my friend Jason had a long conversation with me, and he just kind of said, "Come on, man, like don't say this. You know you're better than that. You're a connector. Everyone loves you." But I said, "Yeah, but when the mind just wants to fight back and say, no, 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 I'm nothing, I'm nothing." But I'm so grateful because if Jason wasn't there, I'm not even sure where I would be. And he had this conversation with me, and so it's just to show the power of a brother in your life. Because I'm not sure that I would have shared that to any woman. Like you just feel you can't.
Yeah.
And the interesting part is, in the conversation, I said at one point, I said, Jason, if I was on the battlefield right now, all I feel I would have is just a freaking stick, like not even a sword. Like that's how I feel right now. I feel like I have nothing. And of course, after the conversation, like now I felt that I'm reignited, like that it's time to have faith again. And I asked him, "Can you send me the picture of this star? I'm just curious about it." And then I looked at the name of the star, and the name of the star was Safe.
Mm.
SAIPH.
Okay.
And to research even a little bit more, imagine, like I talked about the sword and the stick. So the star means the sword of the giant.
Wow.
That's what it
Wow.
was. And so I thought, wow, all along, while you could be in your lowest point,
Mhm.
you've got God that said, I have got the sword for you. You're the giant, you're the star. Remember this. And so it was
Yeah.
a moment of reawakening the giant within and to also understand how like this support is so important. Like the support of our brothers and it's not just, in the bad times, but also celebrating the good times, right? Like it's
Yeah.
also, we all have our ceilings, we all have the pressure around. It could be my next exit, and I'm not sure how it's going to go. Maybe I'm going to fire some employees and I'm not like, I love them and I don't want to do this or whatever it is. It could be, celebrating, but who am I going to celebrate with? So these moments are crucial, and we got to also understand that it requires a new identity. And so for me at that point, I chose to be a different person. And
Yeah.
I'm still choosing to be a different person because that's what's required to go to the next level. And I think that once you have this power inside, that this inner power, it feels like the image that comes to my mind is, the stampede when there's that horse and the guy on top of it that just wants to see how long he's going to stay on the horse. But if you're
Hmm.
the horse is ready to go. The horse wants to like open the gate. I'm ready. And so if
Yeah.
you do this analogy of the man on you, which is the fear, you're ready to kick it out. It's going to take 8 seconds or whatever, but you know that with that power, that inner power, you can do anything.
Yep.
So I'm so grateful that I had this chance of this beautiful retreat to really reemerge a story that I forgot that deep down I didn't want to talk about. But now I feel that this is a story that hopefully will show man how important it is to be
Yeah.
together
Yeah.
in this.
Yeah. Yeah. What an awesome vision that is. And well, so now that we've got a little bit of context set here, I want to switch gears just a little bit. And I want to ask you a different question. So, Francis, have you ever been introduced to a person or persons who completely changed the course of your life or your business, so much so that much of what you have today would not be possible if not for this person or persons? And I'm just really excited to hear your story and your experience around this topic of relationships.
Hmm. Well, there are two people comes to my mind, and the weird thing about this is that sometimes I feel like we can meet people and they do an impact, and we only notice how big the impact was years after. And
Hmm.
so the one that's very much so one of my biggest, I mean, mentor, or you kind of call it my star, is my godfather. When I was 16, I remember he gave me a birthday card and he said, "Now you're 16, it's great. Remember this, don't choose a job for a paycheck. Do what makes your heart come alive, because otherwise you'll be poor all your life." And at that time, I'm like, yeah, 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 yeah. Do what makes your heart come alive. That's fine. Just I finished university, and first thing in my mind is what's going to be the job that gives me the most amount of money. I had the multinational or the small organization. My dream was to travel around the world, but that was a small organization, but the salary was 30,000. The other one is 55,000. So it looks like it's at least a third more. And then, the path of leadership and everything. So I decided I'm going for money. But I was miserable for 4 years because they were also promised like a big bonus after 3 years if you stay. It was $15,000, which I'm Canadian, so at that time, like the exchange rate was almost 1.5, so it was like 22,500. It's half a year or a two-third of the other job. So I'm like, I'm gonna stay. But it was about, selling electronic components and everything, and I didn't like it. And my flames diminished every day, like for 3, 4 years until I made that change to a different job, which was Xerox. And the irony in that is that I think, and that's the impact, is that, one, I associated that I would be successful or that would be happy once I get all of that, which is a lie. That's not true. So, now I get it. I do what makes your heart come alive. This vision, the business vision, whatever it is, if you have enough of your why and excitement, that means that with challenges, you're going to go through it.
Yeah.
It's not just going to be, yeah, well, I guess, I'm just going to give up. And that's the purpose of living, really, to be fully enlivened. So now I get it, and I only got it 20 years later, where I found the card when I was 36, and I'm like,
Wow.
he was right. He was right. And then there's also another person that once I started that job, I thought I had it all. I'm thinking, okay, I'm at Xerox now. This is great. I'm making this, and I actually took a pay cut to go to Xerox because I
Okay.
knew that they had the best sales training, and I was excited about it. And finally, I'm gonna have some transactional business, not just, you work on something that takes forever. So just the week before I started, or no, actually this the same week I started, I was 3 months before getting married. I had a new job, a new car. And 2 days after I started, my fiance just asked me to say, I want to talk to you. We're in the living room. I'm like, yeah, what's up? She's like, I want to cancel the wedding. I'm like,
Wow.
what? So, and as a good salesperson, you're like, let me understand this. Like, so what you're saying is you want to cancel the wedding. So when's the new date? It's just like, you want to still keep the deal on. And she's like, no, this is no more deal. And I'm leaving tomorrow. I'm like, whoa. So
Wow.
that was a big moment for me like just the house of cards just
Yeah.
collapsed and I had to recreate myself. And one person that really helped me to recreate myself was Bob Smith. Like he was a sales coach, and we had this boot camp for 2 weeks. And for me, I love sales, so it was just a way of escaping what was happening in my life. And I just like I was hungry to just be successful and have fun with it. As a matter of fact, to show you how Bub was, it was almost like a grandpa, like with the morning radio host voice. And he said to us, we were just a small little group there. They had other sales coach, but we had Bob. And Bob's like, okay, guys, are you ready? Well, I'm going to tell you 7 things that are very important for you to know how to be a successful salesperson. We're like, yeah, let's do it. So we're taking notes like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And he's like, and 7, the most important one. Yeah, have fun. So like, all right. And so it was that type of guy. And so when it was over, I went to see him and I just wanted to thank him. And I just said, hey, and he didn't know my situation. He didn't know that, my wedding was canceled and all that.
Okay.
And I just went to see him and I said, Bob, I just want to thank you. Thank you for this week. Like it was really good. Like, and thank you for your advices. I love it. And it's almost like God was right there for me, right? Like he put his hand on my shoulders and he looked at me with these eyes that were just divine and very piercing through my soul. And he said, I've watched you this week. I'm like, what is he gonna say? And he's like, you can do anything you want in your life. It's just up to you. I'm like, so he kind of gave me permission to just say go for it. Like it's up to you. And he was so good as a mentor that the year after, it was my year of the year, and I actually won the rookie of the year. But at 6 months in, I did sell my whole quota for the year, and I remember telling him, "Hey Bob, I just sold my whole year in 6 months. I'm so happy, man. I think my goal now is 150% for going to the President's Club." He's like, "What do you mean 150%? You better go back to your manager and tell her that your goal is 200%. That's how successful people think. If you did it in 6 months, this is your new goal." So I was like, "Thank you so much for saying your great job for the first 6 months." But it was just like such a great guy
Yeah.
and he passed away years after, but I still have him in my heart because he would just say, "Go get him, Tiger. You can do it." And yeah, he's been very instrumental in my life for sure.
And man, it is so awesome to have people in our life like that, that one, they can see things in us that we might not be able to see for ourselves. And that two, that they're just rooting us on, and they hold this space where, because we just appreciate them so much. And when they're rooting us on like that, well, we're just like, man, well, if Bob believes I can do this, then man, I must be able to do this. And
And it's tough love too, right? It's like, what are you
yeah,
talking about 150%? That's not how successful
yeah,
people think. And you know that they're saying that not to depreciate you, but they're just saying you can do better than that.
yeah,
Like, or you're great, like do it. And he was right, because if you're not shooting for 200, chances are you're not gonna get it. So I still remember the percentage. I was 167% of my plan and almost like the best in the whole, like I was in second. And
wow,
and it was just, I think, thanks to Bob to just say, go for it, go stretch
yeah,
yourself. You can do it.
yeah, that is so awesome. So you kind of alluded to a little bit already, but I want to dig deeper because I'm sure there's more. So I'm going to ask you this question. What is an example of a situation where you, Francis, you got to make this really big, substantial impact? And maybe even in the moment, maybe it surprised you a little bit, but yet you also know that would have never been possible if not for your relationship with either one of these people that you've talked about.
Hmm. Well, I know the rookie year definitely for me it was Bob. Like I think it was definitely his mentorship, of course. Now, in terms of impacting people, this it's hard for me to answer this one. I know what's interesting. What comes to my mind is I remember when I was living in Vancouver, I was doing a lot of Facebook lives at that time. It was in
Okay.
2017 when it first started. And the interesting part, and I think it goes with, I had this conversation with someone yesterday. It's doing the reps while nobody's watching. And so
Yeah.
I was doing my Facebook lives and I was giving a lot of insights about my life and I was giving and giving and giving. And I didn't really see a lot of, I guess, praise or interactions from people per se. But what I didn't know is that once when I would walk on the streets and I would see some people that, oh, I'm watching your videos all the time. And so and I love them and I always watch them. And so I realized, wow, you never know the type of impact that you make
Yeah.
while you think nobody's watching, but they're watching. And so I guess it's really a matter of not well you don't do it for the praise of course but to you never know the impact you have so keep planting the seed and to me that's what comes to mind because
Yeah.
I think the society right now is unfortunately we're kind of looking for some external approval but the first person to approve is ourselves
That's right.
and we don't need to and we make an impact more than we think and actually, now another thing that comes to my mind is that I've had a challenge once where I said, "Can you praise a unsung hero of someone that never heard of how much of an impact you made in his life or her life?" And that these people that shared their challenge was so powerful because some people were emotional. I never knew I had such an impact in your life
Yeah.
and we never like just to take that time and it could be for any listener right now it could be just hey calling and just say I just thought of you.
Yep.
I never thank you for this thing you did for me because it changed my life and
Yeah.
people they're so surprised they didn't even know they made that impact and we are making this impact.
Yeah.
And third thing that comes to my mind based on that is that I was at a ceremony at one point like a spiritual ceremony and the shaman at the time said something very interesting. She said, "You are the ancestors." And I never thought of that. Like, I know my ancestors. My ancestors for me are in my past. But to know that we are the ancestors, what we do right now is for the generations to come. So we are already ancestors.
Mhm.
And that never clicked this way. I'm like, wow, what I'm doing right now has such a big impact for the future. So we are all ancestors. There are human beings in 300 years from now will be in a whole different place. And what we do right now has an impact for them.
Yeah.
What we do right now has an impact for our kids and our kids for a generation. So I think we should never underestimate the impact that we have from ourselves. Yeah,
For sure.
and to thank the
Absolutely.
people that are alive that have made an impact in
Yeah.
our lives. So
Yeah.
my godfather is still alive and I tell him very often like thank you so much, I love you, and I have conversation with him and I talked to him today and so he's going through some not financial health wise issues but he's got a great spirit and he's inspiring me and I want to give him as much as inspiration as he gave to me
Yeah.
you know
Yeah. That's so awesome. That's so awesome. Well, I'll tell you, I really appreciate you taking the time to have this conversation today, Francis. And for everybody who might be listening to this right now, thinking like, man, Kevin, I really like Francis. I like who he is. I like how he shows up. I like what he stands for. And maybe they're curious about this men's group that you've gotten stuff. So is there any resource, any websites, anything we can share with anybody in case they want to follow up with you?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, there's nightclub KNIGHT club.co. That's a start. We're also going to revamp it a little bit, changing the some of the copy, but it's a good start. And they can also on Instagram if they want to go at Piché Francis at Piché Francis.
Okay.
DM me. I'm here about having conversation and vetting the guys that want to make an impact, and if they are excited about this vision, this mission to like create a legacy in their own life, having fun with other guys that are like them, celebrating the wins and the downs, and being feeling supported. We're all here for that, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, that's absolutely right. That's awesome. Any last thing that you feel led to share, Francis, before we call it a wrap?
What comes to mind is I would ask anyone here, because I think it's a good question, is are you feeling alive while you're alive? I mean, like I said, I shared quickly my friend that passed away. That was a big shock for me because everything was fine. Like he just like basically had a run and something burst in his heart and he just died. And so that shocked me because I just saw how life is so precious. In my mind, you know, it's only when you're 65, 70, 80, 90, whatever, but not at 47. And so I made my mission to say I want to make sure that I am fully playing my game, that I'm not playing small, that I'm alive when I'm alive. And I'll leave with a small little story of my other friend that also passed away from cancer. And I had this conversation 2 weeks before he died, and he chose how to die because it was a long process. And so he was in Canada, and he decided to basically choose the date, and they would come and give him the last syringe, and that was it. And and I had this conversation while I knew that he would depart, and I said, "What do you have to say? Like, what would you say to us, or what are your words?" And he said, "Well, never let anyone or anything sway you from who you really are." That's what he said. And I think it's so important because, you know, we're afraid of what the people are gonna think, but they don't even think about us. You know, we're just like they're
That's the
everyone's busy with their
reality
own
right
lives. And
there.
so right. So it's like let's you like my godfather said, do what makes your heart come alive. Who cares about people that are there around you? Like who there's a saying that I disagree. It's like dance like nobody's watching. To me, it's like dance like everyone's watching. Why you know, in my words, like let's just be unapologetic about who you are. Like you don't need like why like it's almost it implies that you can only do it while they're not watching in a way. Like I just no, be yourself. Never let anything or anyone sway you from who you are
Yeah.
and be alive and
Yeah.
be it with other people that you love to be with. Like that's why it's so important. Like you and I are in this container together with Geo. It's people that are dreamers, people that want to make a difference. And the conversations are so inspiring. They're
Yeah.
positive. It's more about how can we make this work as opposed to have you thought about this? I don't think it's gonna work. So we're here to have a great life, to have a bold life, to be brave, to be original, to love what we do and devoted to a mission. So that's my message.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, once again, friends, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to have this conversation today. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate you. And I'm excited to get this out there and share it with a lot of other entrepreneurs. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Kevin.